royalty. Let's start it. Dear students, today I'll teach you about royalty. At the very outset, you try to understand what is royalty. See, royalty is a type of rent. Royalty is a type of rent, you can say. Suppose you are owner of a house, you have given the house to another tenant and you are getting per month some rent. That is simply rent. You cannot say royalty. Royalty, how it is different from simple rent, I will explain that now. Royalty, suppose you are having a fishery. You are having a fishery. So suppose you are having a fishery here. And suppose A is the owner of fishery and B is the another person. So A is the owner of the fishery. A has on some agreement is known as lease. Agreement is known as lease. A has given the fishery to B on lease. Suppose for 10 years. Suppose for 10 years. A has given the fishery to B, suppose for 10 years. What does it mean? B will use the fishery for 10 years and he will catch fish and he will, fish he will catch here, he will produce fish and sell the fish and it will be his gain. This belongs to this person and he has taken it on lease. Lease is an agreement for some long time for using a particular asset. Asset belongs to one person and taken by another person. Now, this person who is owner, he is known as landlord. You can say he is known as landlord. You can focus here. Landlord. And he is also known as LESS or lessor. Landlord or lessor. The person who is the owner is known as lessor. LESS or lessor. And he is the person, he has taken it from him. He is known as lessee. Now lessor and lessee, these two words are clear to you. This is a plot of land where there is a fishery and this is owned by A, Mr. A. So A is the landlord and A is the lessor, you can say. And there is an agreement. Agreement is known as, this is an agreement. Agreement is known as lease agreement. According to the agreement, A has given the fishery to B and B shall use it. Say B shall produce fish and B shall sell the fish. And the condition is that suppose per kg of fish, A will get rupees 100, suppose from B. The condition is that per kg of fish, A will get from B. He will produce fish and sell fish. If it is 1 kg, he will get 100. 2 kg, so 200. 1000 kg, so 1 lakh. This amount is known as royalty. Agreement is known as lease. The amount of income that you will get from him is royalty. And the agreement is lease agreement. And the owner is landlord or lessor. And this person is lessee. So this is a simple agreement between two persons. Clear up to this? What is royalty? Royalty is a type of rent given or paid by one person to another person for using of a particular asset. So now I have told you fishery. It may be mine, say gold mine, coal mine, color khoni. That may be also anything. Or suppose one person is written a book. And that book is sold in the market. the publisher will pay royalty to the owner, I mean writer, author. Suppose you have written a book and one person is published. So as far as copies are sold in the market, you should be getting royalty. Like our Professor Kumud Das, K.R. Ranjan Das, K.R. Das, famous accountancy teacher. He's not retired, he was head of the department of this college, accountancy. He's 80 years old now, also writing books. He's very brilliant. So now his books are in the market. Publisher is published. So as the number of books sold, he gets royalty. There is also royalty. Right? For use of asset is also royalty. So this is all about royalty. Royalty is an amount which is also known as dead. So what is dead? Suppose in a particular month or particular year there is no production. Then in the agreement the lessee will have to pay a minimum amount to him so that he can maintain his expenses. So that amount, suppose you have taken in 20,000. Suppose it is 20,000. Suppose as per agreement, if production is less, a royalty comes to 10,000, you have to pay 20,000. Production is less, the royalty becomes 15,000, you have to pay 20,000. Production is more and royalty is suppose 25,000, you pay 25,000. If royalty is 30,000, pay 30,000. Royalty is 19,000, you pay 20,000. So this is minimum guarantee. This is minimum rent. So there may be a question, what is minimum rent or dead rent? This is an amount, minimum amount, which the lessee must pay to the lessor, even if actual royalty is less. So there are two things you see. Actual royalty, another point to write here, actual royalty. People taking actual royalty. Actual royalty is an amount which is actually calculated amount. Whatever actual calculation, suppose your production is 50 kg. So 50 into rupees 100 will be 5,000 actual rent. Right? But minimum rent is this. So suppose in a particular year, your production is 100 kg. So 100 kg into rupees 100, how much coming? 10,000. So actually it is coming, suppose 10,000. Suppose, or actually is coming, suppose 15,000. This is actual royalty. Suppose. But you have to pay 20,000, there is an agreement. Right? So lessee has paid 5,000 more. So here I am writing one formula here. Minimum rent, suppose 20,000. Minimum rent is 20,000 and actual rent is 15,000. In a particular year or month, suppose in the agreement, minimum rent is 20,000, but actually it has come 15,000. How much is to pay? 20,000. How much excess is paying? 5,000. Is a loss for whom? B. This 5,000 has a name. This 5,000 is known as short working. This 5,000 is known as short working. Short working means the excess of minimum rent over actual rent. If actual rent is more, there is no short working. If actual rent is less, actual rent or actual royalty. Minimum rent, actual, if you say actual royalty, actual royalty, then you better. Actual royalty. Minimum rent, actual royalty. So, or minimum royalty. So, actual rent, if it is more, then no problem, no short working. But if actually is less, so minimum is more, then this is short working. Clear? Now there is a question. This short working 5,000 seems to be a loss for D. He has to pay 20,000. Sorry, he has to pay 15,000. But he is paying 20,000 as per agreement. You have to pay minimum. So he is paying 5,000 loss. There is an agreement for that also. Again, there is a point. So in the agreement, lease is also known as lease deed. You can say lease deed. Deed means agreement, like partnership deed is deed. So in the partnership agreement, so lease agreement, it will be written that now you have paid excess, but in future, suppose there is more royalty. Suppose next year there is 30,000 royalty. Suppose next year there is 30,000 royalty. So you do one thing. You deduct 5,000 and pay 25,000. Got it? This time it was minimum 20,000, but the actual is 15,000. You paid 20,000. So it is short working 5,000 loss for you. I am telling you, next year, suppose actual royalty is 23,000. So adjust 3,000 with this and pay you 20,000. And again 2,000 will be left. I will adjust it next year again. So that adjustment, you understood this adjustment? When there is excess working, then you adjust this loss. There is an agreement that you can adjust it. That adjustment of short working with future excess working is known as, I am writing for you, is known as recoupment, recoupment of short working. Recoupment of short working. Recoupment of short working. So this 5,000 you pay short working. Now next year suppose 21,000, you adjust 1,000. 20,000 you have to pay minimum. So, but it was 21,000. You adjust 1,000. And again 4,000 remains. Then again next year suppose 22,000. You adjust 2,000. Again 20,000 remains. That way you can adjust in future years. When there is excess royalty, adjust it. Is known as what? Recoupment of short working. Now there may be question, what is recoupment of short working? There may be question, what is short working? There may be question, what is minimum rent? These questions are clear to you, right? Without understanding these questions, you cannot go for practical. And if you understand these questions, practical will be very, very easy for you. You should be expert, I am sure about it. I'll teach you journal entries later on. Now another point, suppose next year also there is short working, again short working, again short working. Suppose excess working is not coming. First year you paid 20,000, actual was 15,000, so short working 5,000. Next year again short working suppose. So the excess working is not coming several years. Then lessor may put an agreement, a point, a clause. देखो भाई, you adjust short working only after 5 years. After that you cannot adjust. Maybe, may not be also. Maybe, may not be also. So he may want that, see, you have to pay me the minimum rent, and if there is short working, that short working will be adjusted in future. But how many years I shall wait for that? Maybe that up to next 4 years it can be adjusted after that. If not adjusted, it will go. Maybe the condition. Suppose after 3 years you can make up this. Still you are not having more money, more royalty. Then whatever is left is gone. Suppose next year it was 1,000 adjusted, then again 1,000, again 1,000, 2,000 is not adjusted, and 3 years gone. Then that 2,000 will never be adjusted. It may be 3 years, it may be 5 years, it may be 7 years, it may be anything. It's between agreement. So if that is a case that after a certain number of years you cannot adjust, and therefore suppose 2,000 rupees left short working and you cannot adjust, then unadjusted short working is loss for whom? loss for B, and that amount is known as what I am talking. I am writing for you. That amount is known as, I am writing here. It is noted irrecoverable, irrecoverable short working, irrecoverable short working, or you can also write or short working. Can you take it? Can you see it? Short working. You can also write. You can stand up also. Short working. You can stand up. Come here. Short working left. You can see this also. Short working left. So the amount of short working which you cannot cover up. As per agreement, suppose 4 years. Within 4 years you could not cover total short working. What amount is left unadjusted. And there is loss for, let's see, that is known as irrecoverable short working or irrecoverable short working or short working lapsed. This is a pure loss for the lessee, total loss for the lessees. So I have taught you what is royalty. Number one, I have taught you what is royalty. I have taught you there is an agreement, there is lease agreement. As per this agreement, the asset of one, I am summing up, asset of one person is used by the another person, and the second person uses the asset. It gets some production. It may be, I have given fishery, it may be oil mine, coal mine, it may be gold mine, mineral, it may be books also, it may be anything, it may be music also. In the morning class I told them about Lata Mangeshkar. She is the first person, who demanded royalty from the producer in 1935-36, like that. Before the singers are not paying royalty. When she used to sing, take 200 rupees and go forever. And the producer earns money regular. Then she demanded, with my singing song, you are earning so much money, give me something. There is royalty gain. And now playback singers are getting it. So in music you are getting royalty. That's why the example I told you, I will be telling you regarding Lata Mangeshkar. So, and later on it came, yes, as many cassettes or as many CDs, as many to be sold out, will be getting some royalty out of it. So in music there is royalty, in books there is royalty, in fishery there is royalty, in gold mine, coal mine, minerals there is royalty. Any asset you are using, giving to someone, there will be royalty. So the person who is the owner, here you can say landlord, but in case of book you should say author, right? In case of music you should not say landlord. What do you call it? So the use of a particular asset by one person is belonging to another person. This agreement is known as lease agreement. You might have found real property in balance sheet someone. You might have found it. Lease agreement. As per this agreement, there are two parties. One is lessor, L-E-S-S-O-R, lessor. Lessor is the owner, lessor, and other is lessee. So lessor gets royalty from lessee. This royalty is clear. And if it is certain year or certain month, there is less production, the royalty will be less. So lessor will be in trouble. So there is a point in the agreement that minimum this much amount you have to pay. Every month or every year, minimum this much amount. I have taken it 25 days ago, this is minimum rent. And then when you compare minimum rent with actual rent, if actual rent is less, then also you are paying minimum rent. So the excess amount is paid, this is known as short working. Clear? This is short working. The short working is a loss for the lessee. So what he does, he takes some advantage of recovering it in future when there will be more royalty, adjustment. So that is known as recoupment of short working. Is it clear? And then suppose as per agreement, there is a time, within this time you have to recoup, after that you cannot recoup. And time has passed. And still some amount of short work is left to be recovered. That is known as irrecoverable short working or short working lapsed. It's a loss. So these concepts are sufficient to understand any problem, any practical problem of royalty. I will be teaching you journal entries. If you understand these points clearly, what is what clear, I am sure you can make debit credit. What is debit, what is credit? There are two parties, journal entries in the books of lessor and journal entries in the books of lessee. And you yourself can make the journal entries, I am sure. If you have understood this thing, you can create journal entries. Beyond teachers teach you, but you shall answer great. But we shall teach you, of course, teach you and practice. You shall practice also. So that's about royalty. Very brief. Thank you. Learn it. All the best. Subscribe the channel. Okay. Thank you.